Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's very special Free Library of Philadelphia Foundation author event. It's wonderful to see so many of you here. It's been an incredible season so far, complete with historians and artists and novelists and a Supreme Court justice. We'll cap off the season on December 14th, a week from this Sunday, with our rescheduled event with Congressman Jim Clyburn, which promises to be a very memorable evening. We'll also soon be announcing our spring season, so stay tuned for that as well. And just a reminder that you can register for all of our events and sign up for our mailing list at our webpage, freelibraryfoundation.org. Let me just say a few quick words about our organization in general. The Foundation works together with the Free Library to support programming and advance its mission of promoting literacy throughout the Philadelphia region. Now, as a nonprofit, we are, of course, reliant upon your support to help us achieve these goals, so please do consider donating, which you can also do through our website. Again, that's freelibraryfoundation.org. Before we get to tonight's program, there are a few people and organizations I would like to thank. I would like to thank Uncle Bobby's, our partner bookseller. You would have seen them upstairs in the lobby. They are on site for all of our events. We're very proud of our partnership with them. Yes, let's hear it for Uncle Bobby's. And I'd also like to thank the Philadelphia Citizen, our media partner. And finally, I'd like to thank the volunteers, who are a dedicated group of library patrons who help us to run this series. Tonight, we welcome Tre Johnson, who writes with a focus on race, culture, and politics. His work has appeared in the Washington Post, Rolling Stone, Vox, the New York Times, Slate, Vanity Fair, The Grio, and other outlets. He has appeared on CNN Tonight with Don Lemon, CBS Morning Show, PBS NewsHour, NPR's Morning Edition, and other programs. In addition to writing, Tre is a career educator, working both inside and outside the classroom as a teacher and eventually as a leader in the sector. Tonight, he'll be speaking about his incredible new essay collection, Black Genius. If you haven't gotten your hands on a copy of this one yet, make sure to do so before the night is over. Now, I'm very excited to say that tonight's event is a little different from our usual author events. In addition to being a moderated discussion of a book, it's also a live taping of the Reckon True Stories podcast. Thank you for that. Reckon True Stories is a celebration of new and classic nonfiction, the essays, journalism, and memoirs that inspire us, that change the world, and help us connect with each other. It is hosted by the acclaimed authors Deesha Philyaw and Kiese Lehman, who offer in-depth discussions about the stories we tell and how they impact our culture. Now, sadly, I have to inform you that Kiese was unable to be here this evening. I'm very sorry to have to relay that news, but we are thrilled to have Deesha with us to guide what promises to be a fascinating and important conversation. I know you're all looking forward to this one as much as I am. Please join me in welcoming Tre Johnson and Deesha Philyaw.
All right.
Wow.
Wow, here we are. You want to read for us? You want to start us
Nope.
off? No?
I'm kidding. I'm hoping, you do this more than me, but I do a lot of these, and like this stuff needs to be fun. Like it just,
Yes.
so I will be silly at times.
Okay.
Hi,
Silly is
everybody.
good.
Thanks for coming out. I'm going to read a little bit from Black Genius, just a little book I wrote. And given that it's Philly, I thought it makes a lot of sense to read a Philly passage or section tonight. So I'm going to read about one of my favorite things, and then I think Deesha's going to make me sweat some more under the lights here.
Under these hot lights.
Yeah, these are hot-ass lights. All right, so for as long as I've been going to a Dundee, it's always blazing hot and packed shoulder to shoulder with Black people. Everyone's making their way along a Dundee's main drag on South Street, where the festival starts around South 15th Street and stretches about a mile, splintering onto a series of side streets. Dundee turns South Philly into a Black bazaar. All along the corridor, a series of Black-owned kiosks sell everything from self-published books to homemade incense and perfumes to pro-Black slogan T-shirts with phrases like, I am a king, or Black history is all history, to anything under the sun made with a kente pattern. And pamphlets, so many pamphlets, all the pamphlets, inviting people to join local movements or temples, offering free legal advice, providing FYIs about new after-school or daycare programs, or warning about the city's latest effort to close a school or church. The pavement bakes like it's being slow cooked by an underground grill. Black folks cool themselves off under the shade of row homes, sitting peacefully on stoops, sharing styrofoam containers of soul food, brown top mac and cheese, collard greens swimming in their juices, moist meat, fried chicken with flaky skin, sweet potatoes basking in little lakes of butter. Brothers blotting their faces with damp washcloths and sweaty, sleeveless undershirts, selling bottled water out of coolers for $1. Somehow, music seems to come from everywhere. Trees, vendors, off the flavored water ice, through the African beads and jewelry, from the Black street performers doing acrobatic routines shirtless or in Power Rangers or Spider-Man costumes. They balance on one hand. And there's music in the crowd's reaction, as well as through the small, tinny speakers they bring for their performances. It's also common to constantly run into people you know the whole time. This happened to my parents when they'd take us back in the 80s, and now, having lived in Philly for almost 20 years, it happens to me. Over the years, I've run into friends, cousins, coworkers, Uber drivers, former students, faces that I see around town. Odunde's a big Black church, and even if you've just seen someone yesterday, running into each other at Odunde always feels different. You'll see people stop, hug, talk, take a pic together, and keep it moving. 5 minutes later, you'll probably do the same thing with someone else. Everything's picturesque at Odunde. The Black cowboys strutting down South Philly blocks, a soundstage with throwback R&B acts, the long bins of food, Black people fanning themselves, Black people holding clothes up against their bodies to measure them, open-door house parties right off South Street where Black folks mill on tiny city lawns. But some of the most entertaining views come from the proud Black Afrocentric art for sale at the festival. A lot of these pieces mix religious themes with anachronistic cultural references that sometimes end up being pretty fucking hilarious to look at. Like the painting of Malcolm X dropping MLK behind the back, no-look pass, as they run a 2-on-2 fast break in their Black dress suits against 2 white police officers who can only watch the play unfold in awe in a sold-out basketball arena. Others are sometimes RIP tributes, a scene featuring Aaliyah, DMX, Kobe, awkwardly decked out in a Lakers gear, Nipsey Hussle, Chadwick Boseman in Black Panther costume, and Tupac enjoying drinks in a dark-lit room with the word "forever" written on the wall behind them. Another homage painting also features Kobe and fallen rappers Tupac and Nipsey. The 3 men are decked out in safari gear, riding horses in front of a waterfall on an expedition. I love their absurdity. I love their earnestness. I love that they love us. I imagine them hanging in TV rooms, church halls, and mom-and-pop restaurants. I love knowing that as much as I admire the effort someone put into making these art pieces, I'd never hang one of these up in my life. I have no idea where I'd hang a painting with Maya Angelou, Grace Jones, Kamala Harris, and Megan Thee Stallion playing double dutch. But I get it. But this is all why I and so many Black people love Odunde, this beautiful explosion of Black pride, history, food, and culture, that blows in and out of Philly on a June weekend with a Black boom and disappears in a flash.
Thank you.
Thanks.
As I told you backstage, that's from my favorite chapter. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But first, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for being here and to everyone at the library for having us and for inviting us, and to send Kiese some love. He's unfortunately under the weather, but he really wanted to be here. We've been talking about this forever. So I'm glad that I get to be here with you tonight.
Glad to be here with you.
And this opportunity to talk about your brilliant book, and which is a gift to all of us. And as Daniel mentioned, you all in the audience will have an opportunity to get the book if you don't already have it afterwards. And after our conversation, there'll be some time for your questions, and we'll invite you to ask Tre some things about the book. But I'm gonna get started first with, Daniel mentioned that you have had a career as an educator. You've also been an educational leader and executive director for a educational nonprofit. Tell us how you got from there to here, how you went from that to writing for places like Philadelphia Magazine and that laundry list that Daniel gave, to writing to this path that led you to Black Genius.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna walk us through that.
Oh man, it's always so funny to talk about education and my career in education because, like many people, have a love-hate relationship with it. Tonight I'm feeling a little hateful.
I understand.
Maybe. I was, I think for a big part of it, I think much like what I talk about in the book, I think a thing that, like the rewind to like before even I started my education career, I had really gone to school thinking I was going to be a writer. I went to University of Maryland. I was an English major and a creative writing minor. And I was like, for me, the path was clear. It was like, study some shit, read some shit, write some shit. Voila.
Okay.
I'll be in the free library.
Yes.
Yeah. But what ended up happening is I ended up having this detoured, long career in education. And the whole time, though, I would, every city I was living in, Houston, DC area, here in Philly, I was always participating in or starting writing groups. I could just not escape wanting to do writing all the time. After school, evenings, I was always doing writing stuff. And then the whole time, parallel to all that, I was building a career, so I kept kind of like moving up the ladder of education. But I think like a lot of people might be able to relate to, like the higher up you get, like the air was just stanker. You know, like I just felt like I was choking on the shit. Like I was able to say less, which is weird because saying a lot and doing a lot was what got me there. But the altitude was just tighter, and so I just felt like my voice was overmanaged more and more. And thanks to social media, which I think is largely trash, but is helpful in lots of ways, I was posting constantly. And somebody, Brian Howard, who I will always credit as giving me my start in publishing or getting published as a writer, he just read one of my posts one day, and he's like, you should write something for Philly Mag. And I told him no at first. And then he's like,
wait, why did you tell him no?
Because... Good follow-up question.
Wait, you just went from, I just wanted to write, I went to the mountaintop and I just couldn't stop writing, but then when an editor invited me to write, I did not even have to pitch or query. I said no.
Well, thank you for calling me in.
Yeah, oh, no, that was a call out.
Yeah, call out, you're right. I said no because, all my, and this is the weird thing about being known for this, right? Like all those group writings, I was doing poetry, I was doing short stories, I was doing fiction. I was like trying my hand at the stuff that I thought I was going to do when I went to school. So when he approached me, I was like, I don't know anything about like newspaper writing. And so I was like, no, like I just want to like shoot my shit on Facebook and stuff and keep it moving. He's like,
okay.
Why don't you think about it?
You were doing capital W writing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm judging, but okay.
Oh.
Yes.
Never mind. Never mind.
No, but I'm clear now.
No.
I understand.
I did have these like, well, it just felt so private. It felt so in a community. So I was like, I don't know, like I'm not gonna write in this like whatever thing. But I give him a lot. He was just like, I think you should, and I'm just gonna come back around to you when the time is right. And when Prince died, he asked me to write something, and then it started the ball rolling so much.
And then from writing for publications, kind of one-off, what was the path from there to Black Genius? I became validated and addicted to writing, right? Okay. Like it was like the thing I wanted to do, and so I started hustling over. I said to Brian, I was like, what other editors can I be talking to? And so and this is, I say all the time, this was 2016, 17. This is end of Obama, rise of Trump, BLM. Okay.
Everybody was looking for a little black voice to like lend to stuff. And I was Philly Mag's little black voice to lend to stuff. I was amongst other people too. So, but yeah, I mean, and so I kept doing. I built up a body of work. I ended up getting on TV a couple of times. I got connected to an agent early on. That just didn't work out. And then, but by the time that particular agent relationship dissipated, it was 2020, and once again, everybody was looking for a little black writer around stuff. And so I had a lot of, I was writing a lot for Washington Post, doing lots of stuff around Floyd, the pandemic, and I did this like book club essay that like people like just went buckshot all over the internet, and I had agents come out of the woodwork, and that's how I landed with WME, who I'm with now, and they approached me and they said, "Look, you've come out of left field. You didn't come through the traditional path, much like someone like you." It's like, they said, like, you're a safe bet for us. Like, you've done all this work, you got this whole other career, but you've been hustling your ass getting quality bylines. Do you got some book ideas in you? And so I shared with them three. I was like, do I? And then I shared like three of them, and they were like, what else you got?
Thanks. No,
cool. But I combined some ideas together, and that's how we end up with Black Genius.
I think the book club essay is the first thing I ever read that
No
you
kidding.
wrote. Can you say a little bit more about that? Oh, you've got fans for the book club essay in there.
I always say that will be on my tombstone. That essay. That's the thing that people know. I wrote it out of, I think I should know the date, but I don't know. I think it was summer of 2020. And I wrote it out of anger. I really did. I was on Facebook one day, and some friends of mine that I've known for years, white liberal friends of mine who just Facebook shows you all everyone's activity and shit, and I saw a group of them had started anti-racist book club, and I was just like, how is that the most important thing to do right now? I'm glad this was laughter because I'm talking out therapy right now.
Right. Okay.
But I was like, and so this other black Cynthia Greenlee, she reached out to me. She's like, you should pitch somebody about this, and I was like, okay, I guess so. And I pitched it to the Washington Post guy, and he's like, I don't know where you're coming from with this stuff, but just write it, write it. And I wrote it, and it was probably the most cathartic thing I wrote at the time, and it helps that it was written well, and Jacob Broken at Washington Post did a great job editing me on it. But he kept his hand light.
Yes.
He's just like, we just need to get this out. And so it got out, and the timing was crazy.
Okay.
Great.
And then it brought us here. And you have already read, as I said, from my favorite chapter 4, The Fifth Dimension, Celebration in America's Face. I always say in America's face, like that. And you read one of my favorite passages, which I want to talk about. But just for context for everyone else, in that chapter you write about, among other things, youth flash mobs here in Philly. It's a Philly-centric chapter. Black bikers flexing on Broad and South Streets. The Roots Picnic, Black Star Film Festival, and the Odunde Festival. And we ran into each other there.
Yes.
This summer was my first time there. And that line that you mentioned about the art, some of the art that you saw, and I read that line. I love their absurdity. I love their earnestness. I love that they love us. And the first time I read that passage, the idea came to me that there is no black genius without black love, and I wonder what you think about that.
I think that's absolutely true. I obviously have kind of a teasing type of series of prose around that stuff, but I really do love it. And this is the thing about the book in general, is that it was really important for me, given how the book is called and what it's oriented around. The work for me was to make sure that I embraced as many different types of black life and expression as possible. Shouldn't talk about it from a fixed place as, middle, class, black male. It'd be easy to kind of cater it in a certain type of way, or curate it in a certain type of way, and I didn't want to do that. And so I wanted to talk about all the things that even if I don't embrace, actually pick up these things and do them, I wanted to acknowledge all the things that are acts of love. And I do think this is true about that artwork. I go to museums and shit all the time, and they got a lot of motherfuckers that they make portraits. Let's testify in the front row. That's right. Let me give you the mic.
This is a church audience.
Exactly.
They have been like call and response all night. I love it.
So I'm like, why not? Like,
Yeah.
I get, like, they're not hanging us up in these places. They're barely hanging us up in the city that I'm writing about, right? And so I think it was that. I think it was like, I could see the absurdity of it because it is this mishmash of like people that don't seem to make sense together. But at the same time, it does speak to what this book is about. It's like there might be these disparate pieces of who we are that seem like they don't make sense or connected to one another, but we're all connected to each other. And we are all, as Black folks, figuring out how to be beautiful and thriving in this world along our own terms. And so that was where that book was coming from. Or that's where that passage and that orientation was coming from in particular.
Because I feel that way when it comes to Black writing.
Yeah.
Because Kiese and I will talk about someone who, their sentences and whatnot can be immaculate, but they don't love us. They don't love us. And so, and you can tell. You can absolutely tell.
Yeah.
Which of the essays in the collection was the most challenging for you to write?
So probably, I think I should know these by heart now. I think it's my second chapter is on my family. And this is like, this is like actually very timely to think about it this way because I love the chapter, but it was also really hard because like a lot of families, and in particular I think sometimes a lot of our families, like any type of storytelling outside of the house feels scandalized in some respects. And I think actually I learned a lot of this from Kiese, like talking about Heavy, that this idea of collaboration and consent in storytelling that involves particularly your family, and in particular if the impression may be from a vulnerable and maybe at times unflattering place. So I like knowing both that I wanted to write about family, but also these kind of value-based ideas about how to approach that. I had my mom helped me research aspects of that chapter, and other aspects of that chapter were pulled from a family scrapbook that my aunt Debbie made several copies of them and handed out in the family. It was about cobbling those things together. It's like kind of involving people. The same with the chapter on on education where I highlight my uncle. It's like I saw the opportunity to just involve people in the process and give some to what feels like, I think for a lot of people in our lives, when you're working on a book or you're working on writing, it feels like it's a black box that they don't have an into.
Right.
And it really does rely on our permission to what extent they feel like they can see inside the black box. And for me, I wanted to get in front of that early. I didn't want it to be a gotcha for a number of people in my family. And the chapter's beautiful, to be clear.
Yes.
But it's also a beautiful chapter about Black folks in their lives, and particular Black folks in their lives. And so it was hard. It was hard in like knowing to what extent I had to be ready for and had to be cognizant of, maybe at some point my mom's gonna be like, don't do this.
Right.
Take this out. And what would it mean to have a familial editor inside of that? And knowing that I probably want to honor that more than Dutton, who is publishing the book. So I think that made it hard, was to stick the landing. Now, fast forward to the book being out, and many of the people involved in helping to make that chapter possible do still feel kind of it's very true. They feel some type of way about and there's nothing unflattering about anybody in my family and really in any parts of the book. But I think it is the idea of we're not used to being revelatory about our lives in a certain type of way.
Right.
And even if it's beautiful, it may not always feel good. And so I think it was hard to construct it. And then it's been hard to kind of sit and wait and hear familial blowback about why are you talking about us in this black ass book of yours?
Right. Telling our business.
Yeah. Right.
Is there a chapter that you wish you could have included or had written that didn't occur to you to include, that now you're like, oh, I should have written about that?
I wanted to do explicitly more about Black queer life. I wanted I think I wanted an explicit chapter dedicated to, my heartstrings was like, I want a chapter dedicated to that. My cultural responsibility and understanding for myself was that if I'm not sure I can do this with justice and love and right, I mean, I knew I was going to do it with love, but if I couldn't do it with justice and responsibility, I probably shouldn't try in this format. I think there's ways to just be more thoughtful about building up that fluency more. And I think I don't know how you feel about this stuff, but like I think part of what I oftentimes found myself grappling with is that it's easy to get this kind of like almost godlike complex about the book. It's just you, the pages, and you are drawing your own roadmap. And I think I just wanted to be responsible. And I think there's gestures towards Black queer life inside of the book, but I felt like that was the right landing of compromise that I wanted to do. But I wish I'd been braver, taken more time, been in more like just direct conversations with people. I think I maybe could have pulled it off, but that's something that got left out. I still kind of like ruminate about that a lot.
So when I was in the Lyft on the way over here, and
shout out to Lyft, sponsored by. No, I'm kidding.
Sorry. Oh shoot! In the rideshare vehicle on the way over here, my non-Black person of color driver was asking questions about where was I going and what was I doing, and I told him I was here to celebrate your book and talk to you about it. And I was dreading, well, what's the book about? And I said, it's Black genius, and it's about the ordinary and extraordinary ways that Black people are geniuses and have built this country.
Yeah.
And there was just this pause, and he's like,
he was like, get out.
No. He was like, okay. And he was like, is it on Amazon? And I was like, okay. Woo.
I guess that's great. Yeah, right.
Was, know, I didn't know, what he was going to say. So I'm curious, what has been either the most interesting or the most surprising or weirdest reaction you've gotten to the book?
Oh, man. Also, it's hilarious. I did not know where that story was going to go, and I was like, well, you're here, so it turned out okay. But
right, you didn't keep driving. Like, no.
It's like, I'm going to surge price you now, little Black genius. Most surprising, I was in, I don't know. I've been on the road for like, I don't know, 3 months, something like that. So cities and places. It's truly. I feel like I'm in Star Trek or something, just like traversing everywhere. But I was in some place, I think out west maybe. But you do the talk, and then like everyone gets in line and like wants to sign a copy of the book and stuff. So I'm signing books, and this older white guy comes up to me, like literally crying, and it's like, are you my grandfather? Or let me find out.
Like one of those plantation reunions.
Exactly, my boy.
Thought you were safe.
Exactly. We found you. No, he, I was like, he's like 70 plus years old or whatever, and I'm like, sir, are you good? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I am so happy to finally get to meet you because I read this book overnight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, and I just think it's a beautiful book. He's like, I like learned so much, blah blah blah. But and like, it's just, I mean, it's great and it's lovely stuff. Like, but like, for me, the order operation around writing a book is like, first and foremost, I have no idea what's going to happen with this book, so I'm writing this for myself. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I'm writing it for the rest of us specifically Black people. And then it's like whoever latches onto it, so be it. But I had no conception for emotionally moving my long forgotten grandfather. Papa! This book brought us together.
Huh.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. I like teared up a little bit too, and I was like, wait, I can't do Black tears with white tears. This is too much.
That's the next book.
Too much, yeah. Next book, yeah.
So I read that the first essay you ever had published, you were in the first grade, and it was your school newsletter, and your mom.
You're gonna stop saying "oh" in a second because it's problematic.
It's not. Well, your mom read it, and your grandparents read it aloud in your grandparents' living room, and that was the moment you knew you wanted to be a writer.
Yeah.
So no, I'm pivoting away from any controversy to ask, and you've also been an educator.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what you would say to Black parents about nurturing Black genius and innovation and curiosity, especially in a culture that doesn't celebrate that in our children.
Yeah. I was saying problematic because like that first essay is an ode to Christopher Columbus.
Yeah, I left that part out. I didn't,
It's like, this man's great. And then he came to my book
grown,
signing.
I
And
know
cried.
you've grown. I know. That was 6-year-old Tre.
That's right. We're all on a journey.
Right. We didn't know.
I did not know.
We
Did not know. This is actually that question though is something that comes up a lot. I would almost like rank it as top 3 questions that comes up on tour. It's like, what do you do? Because the book is ultimately about like nurturing Black imagination, and I would argue at any and all strata of life, because I think we've all, as Black folks, been criminally neglected in nurturing our imagination.
Yes.
And it's inexcusable. So for me, I think some of it is just, I talk about this a lot. Like the best way that I answer as somebody who does not have children is that I go back to my days teaching. I was a high school English teacher, Houston, Texas, and I was like an okay teacher. I was like, I really do. I think I was like fine. I did not stunt anyone's growth, hopefully, but
no one was inspired.
Today, guys, I'm not going to stunt your growth.
No harm was done.
No, that's right.
I'll just trust you on that. But okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard. It's like, it's like 23 years old.
Right.
But the thing that I wish I had done, I say this all the time, is like I think the biggest thing I could have done with my kids who are largely Black, and I had a lot of Mexican students, a lot of kids who had crossed from the border with their families. And the biggest thing I should have and could have done on the first day of school every day was have every student sit down and write, where do you want your life to go? And then I should have built the fucking class around that.
Right.
Not fucking Beowulf. I was doing all that dumb shit like, how do I turn Beowulf into a rap song? These motherfuckers didn't want to know that. I should have been charting the path about how they want to be storytellers and writers and stuff in their own lives. Yeah.
So you're a native of Trenton, New Jersey,
Yes.
and you've been here in Philly for 20 years. Can you talk about the Black genius of those 2 cities?
Yeah. Much of my Philly perspective is in the book in particular, but I love talking about Philadelphia. I love talking about Trenton. Philly for me, I think it remains a Black city. And when you look around, you see this creative, it is the Adunde stuff, right? It is the Roots picnic. It is this idea that even in the face of a city that is hell-bent on removing every structure of community from us, we are constantly culturally terraforming this place to our needs. I think that is genius. I know it rankles people about like the ATV dirt bike stuff. Yeah, I heard somebody say I love it. I love it too, whoever said that.
Chapter 4.
Yeah, yes, that's chapter 4. The flash mob stuff. I mean, I love all these things. I love the audacity of the stuff. I love the innate ability for us to always, ultimately what you constantly hear and see is, as our experience, this determination to constantly create community in every experience that we have. That's why you and I are sitting up on it. Like there is a unshakable desire to create community that exists here in Philadelphia, in Black Philadelphia, and I think that is beautiful. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It stuns me all the time. I see it on the fucking SEPTA bus. I see it at the corner store. I see it in schools. I've seen it at churches. It's just amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And then the same with Trenton. Trenton is a smaller version of Philadelphia. It is a carved out section of of Philly. And I think even inside of Trenton, we had things like Heritage Days. We'd do all this stuff around our own version, block parties. And we had Cadwater Park, which is our version of Fairmount and Central Park, where we would do cookouts and basketball tournaments and stuff. And there was this idea of getting people centrally together who more and more folks were pushed to the edges of corners of Trenton. And here were these central focal points where we could do all the things that we struggled to do together. And then inside of that, it's all this cultural exchange and this information and this relationships are formed and there's reunions that happen and stuff. So I think Trenton is its own hard scrabble story around genius too. And I have family that's still there, and part of this book is writing to reach out to them, to just remind each other, like, we have not forgotten each other. Like, we can't forget each other. I think so much of this life kind of pulls us apart, and when it should be keeping us together. And so I think part of it was wanting to know that I wanted to value in the book, and just what I feel in my heart. It's like Trenton is an amazing place. Much like the Black experience, it gets a single story about itself often. And I just love it. I mean, the food is great there. The communities are great there. There's a lot of good people there.
Okay.
Sorry, I kind of zoned out. I'm not sure if I answered
No,
it.
it's fine. So writers are often driven by obsessions, or you don't like that word, persistent questions, that you can call them, that show up over and over in their body of work, or over their career. And I'm curious what your obsessions are.
Oh, man. That's such a great question. When I'm like kind of flipping through the pages of like my bylines in the book now, I mean, I really do think from a Black perspective, I'm constantly asking this broader thing of like, what is life? Like, what are all the components of things that make life life? What am I not understanding? What am I valuing? What am I not valuing? What are people talking about? Why do people struggle with the things that they struggle with? Why do people love the things that they love? Like, I like to think so much of my writing is at least undergirded in part by that question about like, what, as a Black individual, what is life? And it's weird, now that obsession feels very timely at this stage of my life. Like, I'm in like my late 40s now, and in particular, this year I lost many people, but my dad died earlier this year, and thank you. And it brings up, I've had to literally go through all his things, and a lot of it is like, there's this very surreal thing about when you have to kind of, for lack of a better word, when you have to like dismantle someone's entire life. Like, my dad's worldly possessions are a series of stories about the life that he created. And as is the case with all of us, he's like, I can call him dad, but he was many things to many people, and he lived many expressions of himself in many different ways. And his house out in Sacramento is as much of a museum as it is a coffin, right? And like, I think it is about like, I think so much of where I hope my writing continues to go is around this idea of like, what are the artifacts that comprise our particular lives, and what does it mean that we hold the pieces that we hold and let go of the pieces that we let go of?
So now the flip side of that question. What is
thank
something where you're like, I'm never writing about that, or I'm never writing about that again, or
I'm never writing about
wow, horses can't drag it out of me.
You know what I don't want to write about? There's two very explicit things I don't want to write about in a very particular type of bent anymore. One, I think I have made a pivot very early on, and want to maintain that pivot, which is like, I don't want to write about the racial horror of the week or moment. And I think a lot of us in the culture writing, news of the day space, as Black writers, got our foot in the door that way. But I found it fucking draining, and it felt gross. There's this balance of, you want the rest of the world to understand, but also it's like, what does it mean that you have to write to make people understand why what's happening to us is so fucking crazy? So I don't want to do that anymore. This book is not like that. I just do not want to do that anymore. And then I guess kind of like, it's almost kind of sort of redundant, but like, I don't want to talk about the racial topic of the week, and I don't want to topically talk about Black death. I just don't. It just feels gross. I feel like if I care that fucking much, I should spend time with the family of the impacted people that I'm writing about. I should also not be getting, I don't even know what it means to be monetarily paid to talk about someone else's family's loss. Right. Like, I just don't think that's gross. And that is no shade to any Black writers in the room or outside the room that does do that work. But for me, I was just like, this feels like being part of a system that I just don't want to be a part of in that way. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So building a writing life can be very lonely, as you know. And then given the state of the world and the country, as you've just alluded to, it compounds that feeling of difficulty and loneliness, and sometimes just getting out of the bed in the morning is all we can do. How do you address that? How do you find sustenance, support, joy?
I have an amazing community here in Philly. I I have a lot of hobbies and interests. I'm like pausing in part because like I'm in some level of depth of probably my most acute depressive period right now. And it's fine. Like it's just true. It just is. I think it is attributed to a lot of things. I think it's attributed to the rigors of what it means to do a debut book tour and the like adrenaline fall from that. It is also the inextricable ways to like disentangle a debut book and my dad dying.
Yes.
And like I've been talking about like what is very surreal and strange about this year is they're both major life milestones. Because I am part of the system that I'm a part of, one has taken the forefront of conversation, energy, focus, all those things. And so, part of my like right now of being able to like put one foot in front of the other is we were talking backstage about like Disha was asking me what my sign is, and I said Aquarius. And part of being Aquarius, as I've been repeatedly beaten over the head with by all my astrological friends, is you're a humanist. Like you're very much like compassionate about this life and circumstance of other people.
Y'all are difficult though. Y'all pretend like you're not, but
fully
anyway,
difficult.
Sorry, you were answering.
Fully difficult. I'm sweating more now. Thank you for that clarifying point. Jesus Christ. But it's true. I think I have to hack my own brain and soul, which is like left to my own devices, I would not do anything for myself. I would cocoon inside of this depression because it feels painful and tasty at the same time. But I love people. I love knowing people. I love being in community with people. I love being out in the world. I mean, I will crash hard after something like this, but it is the idea, like, this book has saved me in so many different types of ways. Because I think if I hadn't written this book and only had my dad dying, I literally don't know where I would be. I really don't. I really, really don't. But the book has constantly been like a North Star for me to get up and move. And I am very lucky to have written a book that is largely beloved by a lot of people. Like it would change nothing about writing moving forward, but it will always be true that this was a book that was loved and gave me love. And I think that has been critically important for me during this stretch right now, because my tank is like otherwise so dissipated. But I really love being able to, I don't know, hear everyone's stories. Like I love fucking your Lyft driver story. But I think it's been like, especially I think as a writer, but also as a man, like it's so easy to sever being connected to the world, and it's taking quadruple the effort during these last month and a half. But there's enough space in the back of my brain that is like, this is worth it. This is good. This is worth it. This is good.
Well, that's a wonderful note for us to pause. Thank you.
Oh, wow, we're going to pause it now.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we have folks in the aisle. If you could raise your hand with a question that ends with a question mark. Y'all know what I'm saying. Y'all know what I'm saying.
No podcasting on the mic.
right here in the front. There's someone
my
with a
testifier.
question.
Thank you so much. Thank you both. That was amazing and fun. I'm going to offer you 3 questions.
Okay. Wait, you said you were going to ask me questions?
Offer 3 questions.
Oh, offer 3.
I'm a
okay.
Gemini. Please forgive me. So sorry. I just wanted to know, you're talking about like writing queer. I'm curious, what licenses do you feel like you need to acquire in order to do that elegantly, ethically? And also, can you offer people whom you believe are doing it well right now? And and also third culture kid, Black immigrant parents. My first bullies beside my parents were kids that look like me, so I write a lot about what it means to be Black within the Black community, and it's not fun. And so I don't think that's ever gonna end for us. And as a writer, I feel like we might have to keep grappling with that. What do you think we can do for ourselves as writers to take care of ourselves and also do the writing that we need to do?
3 easy questions. God bless you. Thank you. Shout out embarrassment. So I will try and answer. I'm going to try and answer. I'm going to at least answer 2 of them. I'm going to answer, because the middle one I think I need more time to think about. First one about like what would have taken. I think I needed, like, I think I just should have, like, as much as I had readers, so to speak, early on, I don't think I explicitly, and I know some of my early reader friends are queer people. I could have explicitly asked somebody like, hey, just run it by somebody. Like, I'm thinking about trying to explore Black queer life. What are the things I should be thinking? Like, I just didn't engage anyone in a conversation. I think that was like the license permission. It's like I was so heady about this book in general, but inside of each chapter, I just couldn't get out of my own way sometimes. And I think that was an example where it's like I didn't know how to get out of my own way. I could have like asked for more conversation or help from people, and I just didn't. The last question was about being Black writer life. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I'm talking about
Trauma.
And your bullies were also Black.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's so real. I mean, it's just honest and real. Like, I see on social media sometimes people try to, like, detour these acknowledgments that even inside of the Black experience, we will have people treat us like trash. It's just true. If that's what, like, I feel like you have a right to tell that story. I think the important thing is that, no matter what you write, not everyone's going to like it. But no matter what you write, somebody's going to like it. So you just write what you want to write. And I think, it goes back to what I was saying about the book in general, is that first and foremost, write for yourself. You have no idea what's going to happen with this thing. Write for yourself. You have stories inside of you, get them out. And then I feel like you don't want to approach writing thinking about the world outside of it. You want to be responsible and you want to be conscientious, but if you start deluding yourself into thinking like, I got to write this way because it'll make X and Y and Z people happy, you're going to fuck yourself up over and over again.
Other questions? There's one.
Have this woman removed from the room.
What is the legacy you imagine for yourself when you are old? You've reached where it's 50 years from now. What is the legacy? And I know you're gonna curse me out after this. It's fine. It's fine.
I'm debating if I can use the N-word right now.
I curse back.
Most,
you know that.
And most
you know
loving
that. I
way,
love
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
What is the legacy you imagine you leave for yourself, or you leave for the community?
I realize now that everyone's like looking at me, and I probably had a series of looks on my face. Thank you, anonymous questioner. That is a beautiful question. The legacy. I mean, look, the thing I was thinking about this on my way over here is that I think I just want to leave a trail of stories behind, both of my life, but also through the vessel of writing. I think part of my legacy is this idea of modeling inside of our family that, I actually don't think that I'm more talented or different than many people in my family. I just think I had enough lucky breaks to pursue being a cultural storyteller that I think literally anybody else in my family could have done too. And I think I really want to be able to leave behind this idea that, and I want to do as broad a swath of storytelling as possible, because I want us to all understand too that you can do any and all stories that you see fit to my point earlier. And so I think it's some of that. It's just like, here is this tapestry of what it means to express yourself in life. And I feel like it's the most cogent thing I can leave behind. I think books will be like, when I'm gone, I want somebody in our family to be able to pick up this book generations down the road and like, hey, someone in our family did this. You can do this too. Yeah. I'm gonna stop there before I cry.
Thank you. You guys obviously demonstrate the joy and fun you talk about in the book, too. In one of the chapters, you talk about rapping in public as this sort of Black cultural whistle.
Yeah.
And as a way of taking up space and sort of saying, I'm here. And as I was reading it, I was thinking about that as almost a counter-narrative to like a Claude Steele whistling Vivaldi, right? We're supposed to whistle like a nice white song so people know you're safe, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to, as I was reading, I'm thinking, is this intentional? Is this generational, right? Because I'm a little bit older, where we were taught to whistle Vivaldi, in a different way or whatever it was. Or is this just aspirational? Like, are we seeing a shift, right, to like, I'm rapping in public as opposed to whistling Vivaldi? Or is this we hope the world would allow us to do?
Oh, okay, now I get it.
You know what I mean?
I think I
All
hope
the
this
above, and I've lost my mind.
It is probably a little bit of all the above. I also feel like in general with the book, what I've often talked about is that I'm calling out things, and it's new to call out these things that have actually been going on for a long time. Like I can think for decades of Black folks around cities and places, just fucking school hallways and stuff, like rapping all the time. It's more that I just haven't experienced reading it inside of a book, and about giving some context in some situations about what the power is of it. For people who hasn't read the book yet, get out. Out. I'm kidding. Please stay and buy the book. But I talk about the very quick story. I'll give the context around that question is that I live over in Fairmount. I'm right on the edge of Fairmount and Brewery Town. Black folks, not many Black folks inside of Fairmount, but a lot of Black folks inside of Brewery Town. And to access the center city, you have to cross through Fairmount. And snapshot of history, it probably doesn't surprise you that Fairmount has a long history of antagonizing Black folks who have passed through that area in horrible ways. And I don't think that's lost in the DNA of our experience. And so what I've often observed is, in particular during that corridor, Black folks walking down the street rapping. And I've been thinking about, yes, some of it is you just like the song or whatever. But I think a lot of it is about knowing that you need to have some type of force field around you when you're passing through a neighborhood. Because I think, this is how you kind of turn Black paranoia and fear on its ear. Even I do it sometimes. I live in that fucking neighborhood. I do it sometimes. It's I'll rap every once in a while because they will do people maybe will feel entitled enough to do certain things with you or to you, but they see a Black person walking through the neighborhood rapping, you're probably not talking to them. You're probably gonna leave them alone. And so I think it's clever. I think it's clever on the subway. I think it's clever in the streets. I see it in the post office stuff. So I think it's all those things. I think it is a certain type of guard and social lubricant.
Hi, Tre. First of all, thank you so much for this. It's been really insightful and wonderful to hear you speak about your work and your life. So my question is about the business of publishing.
Oh.
So, forgive me.
Stop the recording.
Facts. No, just kidding. I'm not trying to trip you up. But seriously, I'm really curious because you said, your audience first and foremost is Black folks. And, a lot of us know the history of book publishing. It's not traditionally amenable to our folks.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, can you talk about the ways in which you had to, if you had to, hold your book publisher to task to make sure this book got in the hands of the people who you intended? And what ways did they partner with you? Because obviously you have your community, you have a lot of circles of people who would buy this book, but what work did the book publisher put in to make sure your book found the right audience?
Such a great question. Look, the easy hack that I did from day one was I was lucky enough to have a couple of options or offers on the book. I knew I wanted to work with a Black female editor, hands down. And it felt like a safe bet. Now, what was funny is that the editor that I chose, about halfway through the book process, she switched publishing houses. And so I freaked out. But they reassigned me another, LaShonda, who ultimately became my editor on my book. She's amazing, absolutely amazing. And, you know, I think what helped, I mean, honestly, she helped, because this version of the book would not have been the version that y'all have gotten if it wasn't for LaShonda saying at one point, I turned in this very heavy academic prosy type of book because I was scared. I got this big book deal. I called this fucking book Black Genius. I felt like I had to do, I keep saying I felt like I had, as a result, to do like the Negro Encyclopedia. So I was like trying to do like everything possible about every intricate part of Black life. And she's just like, this is not you. And this is not why we invested the resources we had into you in this book. You need to cleave a lot of this stuff out. You need to get away from a lot of this fear, and you need to tell a more intimate, hybrid-ish book, because that is how you think, that is how you speak. It's all these things. Like in that, the book will do justice with your voice and your experiences as a through line through all these otherwise disconnected ideas. And so it is that, like, I think when you hit the lights right, the iteration of conversations that happen through the manuscript and editing process set us up. Like we were actually in tandem when it came to all the other like less savory parts, like book covers and like marketing and like publicity. And now, to be clear, this is where we maybe stopped the recording, but not really stopped the recording. I was like, I am grateful, but was underwhelmed by what the marketing muscle can look like. Because it quickly humbles you that after a multi-year process, you get so many indicators that, particularly as a Black book, you're on a conveyor belt of a number of projects. And so what feels like a very intimate, unique project and process, which you believe yourself, like, oh my God, they're gonna be so happy. They're gonna take this copy and run up and down the halls of Penguin and say, like, Black Genius is done! Black Genius is done! Yeah. His white grandfather is gonna come to a bookstore. But you quickly realize, like, yeah, your art becomes a product. And the struggle, I think, when it's ready to move out into the world, is like you have to negotiate product with what is still your art. You know, this book is, I consider my book a piece of art. The publisher considers it many things. And so I think what helped is that, like, working with Sabrina, my agent, LaShonda, my editor, along the way, we had developed a language, a perspective, and a value, like, position around the book that made it easier to muscle. I had to have some tough conversations with Penguin's marketing team, which were Black women, the team that I worked with. And this was not on them, because they are two amazing cogs of a bigger corporate thing. But they were the most immediate things in front of my face. And I'm like, look, what we're not gonna do is let this book fall on his face. But so you have to find, I think with probably a lot of Black books, you have to access this new reservoir of, like, all right, now the biggest act I have to take is the act of love and advocacy for this book, because otherwise they will gladly do whatever they see is right with your book. Yeah. What you say, same, different, otherwise?
Having the advocates, you're advocating for yourself, having an agent that advocates for you, an editor advocating for you in-house, that's essential. That is absolutely essential, and not every Black writer gets that.
No.
So.
And many are crushed by that.
Yeah. Oh. Thank you. Oh. The side.
That is the nicest version of the Sandman I have ever seen.
Wrap it up.
Please do not allow our speakers to leave the stage without giving them a loud, enthusiastic, and energetic round of applause.